What is up, you guys? Marty McFly coming at you, bringing you guys the merch. I just wanted to give a big thank you to everyone out there who has liked, commented, subscribed. We're now at 216 subs. That's pretty impressive considering this is just something I enjoy doing in my very limited off and free time, but it's pretty cool to see, 216 subs. So thanks to you guys. Congratulate yourselves. I mean, that's pretty cool, man. It definitely brightened my day once I started to see the numbers come up a lot more. And, I've noticed, going back and forth between at least doing the longer videos and then giving everybody some shorts once in a while. I know everyone's ADD is balls lately, especially with the invention of social media and TikTok. Everyone's just going to continue to be more and more ADD the longer we watch TikTok. Granted, I don't have a TikTok, but Instagram still has the flood over from TikTok. So, of course, you get all those 15 to 30 second videos, and then your ADD goes through the roof. I know it makes mine worse, so I try to stay off as long as possible. But, a big thank you to everybody out there who liked, commented, subscribed to this page. I enjoy it. It's cool getting to talk to everybody, especially on the YouTube community. I've met some good buddies who I'm friends with and I chat with, like, oh, did you check out this new record? Or, did you go to this record store? Did you check out this? There's a lot of cool people out there that I've met, and then people that I'm not even necessarily like into, but I do have some friends that have like some big like action figure channels, which I was never really that big into, with the exception of Godzilla. That was always my big collecting thing. That, baseball, hockey, football, kind of stuff like that. But their action figure channels are awesome, and I got to meet them. And now we chat and we try to get each other into different stuff. So honestly, the YouTube community is kind of neat. It's getting harder and harder, I think, to reach out to people, especially with the way the algorithm is. And if you're not one of the channels that gets 40,000 views a day, etc., etc., it's getting harder and harder. But I'll keep doing this until the one day I decide it's not worth it anymore. But right now, I'm having fun. I'm meeting a lot of cool people. I get to hear about a lot of different bands this way. So thank you guys for the 200 plus subs, and I hope I get to do this for a very long time and get to meet every single one of you guys, alright? So, in honor of our 216 subs, I want to do a video with my most recent birthday. I went on a little bit of a crazy spree and went to several record stores that I keep in my back pocket. Places that I always think about when I actually have like a full long weekend and I get time to travel. These are the places I like to go to. So I went a little crazy. There's a little bit of Amazon on there because some things aren't always in the stores, but they were things that I wanted and they were on sale, kind of like the Black Friday thing. So there's a couple records in here I got from that, but most of them are from what I found in the record stores. So let's stop with the first two. We actually have some 7 inches today, and 7 inches go a long way, especially for like hardcore punk. The old screamo, power violence, stuff like that, and like heavy metal too. But 7 inches were a cool way for bands that maybe didn't have a lot of money, maybe weren't signed, to at least get their tunes out there, toss a few at the shows. And now some of the 7 inches are going for like big money. If you look at 7 inches from like, Judge, or even some of the old Cave-In, Sworn In, Title Fight, YOT, Youth of Today, stuff like that, some of those 7 inches go for a lot of money. So one of my favorite record stores in the country, Jacksonville, Florida. There's a place called Tiger Records. The guy that owns it, James, really, he's just an awesome dude. He's super nice, super friendly. He's the bassist from Bane. I go and talk to him every chance I get because he's just a cool dude just to hang out with and talk to about tunes. He knows his music really well. Obviously, if he was a part of Bane, he knows hardcore, he knows punk and stuff like that. So these are 2 7 inches I got from Tiger Rex. This is a holy grail for me because this is a band that I deeply regret not getting when I was in Armageddon Records in Boston, Massachusetts. And of course, this is The Swarm, aka Deep in the Dead. This is Old Blue Eyes is Dead. They're 7 inch. It's actually really, really fun. If you're not familiar with these guys, it's kind of like old screamo power violence, a little bit of like Canadian hardcore, but I would really say it's got like the Boston hardcore sound, a lot of punk, just a lot of riffs, a lot of tremolo riffs, a lot of chugs, and the songs on the EPs are pretty short. Now, the reason why I say that I was bummed that I missed is because when I was in Boston, they had a copy of Parasitic Skies, and I didn't know what I had in my hands because at that time I only knew a little bit about them, and I was just being stupid, didn't pick it up, and I should have because I was being dumb. Gorgeous purple like vinyl with a little bit of marbling going on in there, but this is of course The Swarm, aka Knee Deep in the Dead, Old Blue Eyes is Dead. All the tracks on here are fantastic. This was recorded out in Canada, actually. And there's just a funny liner note when you're actually reading the liner notes. And it says, "To the awesome who pooped in the pit in Detroit." I just think that's awesome. So, I mean, for whoever that guy is, I mean, he's probably famous in his own circle that he took a giant dump in the mosh pit in Detroit when his band was playing. So it's pretty cool to see that, like, even this EP has a little bit of memories to it, but it's got this wonderful fold out. It's got a lot of neat history and stuff. It's got a nice fold out card with some information in there. This is off of No Idea Records, if I'm not mistaken. This is back out in 1999. So this is pretty old. This is like the second press of this. But it's really cool to see this out in the wild because, I'll be honest with you, trying to find Parasitic Skies for a reasonable price is tumultuous, for lack of a better phrase. So it's pretty cool. I'm very happy to have this. This band is just awesome. Their last liner note at the very end of the 7-inch, they even said, "If we forgot about you, cry me a river, you insignificant, butt face," is basically what they call everywhere. I think they call them an asshole, but that's got to be like the demeanor of the band. But it's a great EP. Really glad I got to have it. Tiger Records. And of course, the same place, man, Tiger Records, and it's really cool because they have like the face of the lion on here. But I mean, I'll just spit it out there. It's Title Fight. So this is the Kingston EP. Really, really excited to have this. This came out in 07. It came out on 2 different record labels, which became Defunct, and then eventually they pushed it onto a 3rd record label. It's got 3 tracks. This is a departure from their later stuff, but I really love the raw, just punk, little bit of pop punk, a little bit of classic hardcore, and then Midwest emo all mixed together into a 3-song EP. And the songs are fantastic. It's really a fun album. I got one for me and my buddy. This is the yellow. They also had it on green, and then I think they had another color in the store if I'm not mistaken. But I had to pick it up as soon as I saw it. Like I said, this is, their other stuff that got them pretty popular is a little bit more towards like the American football, Midwest emo sound, hardcore punk. But if you don't know Title Fight, I mean, they really were a band that changed the scene and got really big. Unfortunately, they're no longer together. If I were to say a starting place, I would say start here. That way you can listen to their journey. The final track, Your Yeah, is actually, it's just fun. Like the whole EP is fun, but they have a couple of other tracks pushed on their 1999 album. And then, if you were to just pick one off the bat, if you can't find this, I would say any of their albums are pretty significant for their sound, but you could always try like Floral Green, which everybody usually goes to. They did a record store day press, and they're at all the record stores now. You can usually find a couple of Title Fights albums at the stores. So, yeah, man, it's not a trip to the store without a couple 7-inches. Now, interesting pickup for me. It was $15, and I see this every time I go into the store. I'm like, am I going to buy this? I should buy this. Why haven't I bought this? I should probably buy this. And then eventually I just decided to go ahead and buy it. This is Iomega Transience. This is kind of like prog hardcore punk, whatever you want to call it. It's a lot of fun. It's kind of like, it's there's a little bit of screamy screams, but you got a lot of clean vocals, really heavily focused on guitar work and the melodies. If I were to compare this to another band, I'd probably have to say this is like directly like Protest the Hero. So if you're into Protest the Hero, you're probably gonna like this band. Nice little custom center, and then white bone vinyl. But it's a fun album. I don't even know where to start really, as far as like if I were to just give you a song and say go for it. I would say any of them, to be honest with you. All the songs on there are pretty, they're pretty determinant of what they sound like. I mean, you're gonna get that vibe on pretty much any of their songs. So if you're into Periphery, if you're into Coheed and Cambria, if you're into Protest the Hero, I would say any song on here is probably gonna give you a good idea of what they sound like. But it is a fun record. You really gotta kind of be in the mood for it. But like I said, it's like punk and hardcore mixed with prog, and really talented guys, really great guitar work, and really good melodies. Now, I've wanted this for a long time, just to have a copy, just because this album means so much for the punk and hardcore scene, and this band itself means a lot for the punk and hardcore scene. I've seen countless interviews with these guys. There's a lot of tracks on this album. They're a little bit shorter, but not like, you know, not grindcore short, not nails short. I mean, they're a little bit longer than that, thankfully. But if you don't know this band, man, you gotta crawl underneath whichever rock you've been living in. But Cro-Mags, The Age of Quarrel. It's just Cro-Mags. That's it. Yeah, I mean, these guys still go on crazy tours all the time, and the funniest tour that I still think is there is a skate punk like record store in Melbourne, Florida. It's on O'Galley, I think. So there's a great record store. It's right next to like a clothing store, like the Something Collective. Well, right next to that you have a skate punk shop, and then next to that you have a barber shop, and they play like hardcore punk metal shows all the freaking time. And the guy, he's in his own band, which those guys are fantastic too. I've actually shown their LP on this channel. His band is called Cold Side, and he started that band. Well, he's always in the skate shop. He's always willing to talk to people about like whatever he likes, and like punk and hardcore and music and stuff, and he'll talk to you about anything because this guy's like very well versed in that scene. Well, he's the reason why Cro-Mags gets and plays in Melbourne every once in a while. Well, we have the Iron Oak down the road, and that's like a pretty cool little pub in the downtown Melbourne area, and they'll play shows. They'll play young and up and coming bands. Well, next to on O'Galley, there's a place called Pineapples, and it's like a really nice 3-story restaurant bar. And connected to that is where they're playing freaking hardcore and metal shows. They have skate events there on there all the time. But I mean, they have Cro-Mags. Madball's been playing there. They just had a really big show a couple weeks ago, and then you had Death Before Dishonor and Vietnam, and like a lot of great heavy acts coming out there. And they're playing in like small towns like Melbourne, which is just cool as balls, man. It's a long drive for me, but I go anyway. It's a blast. It's well worth the long drive for me to go down there. But yeah, Cro-Mags. Just go out, slam, mosh pit, just jam, bang your head. It's just Cro-Mags, man. Another kind of fun band that they're not directly like these guys, but another fun band that I think of like this style era of music, I think of like Skate Nigs. And yes, it's a little weird when you actually say the word, but if you want to listen to like some like hardcore punk mixed with Gorilla Biscuits, mixed with like Bane, mixed with Cro-Mags, mixed with like a little bit of reggae, all of that stuff, like, and like ska, not as far as ska, but I mean like Sponge, just there, all of that stuff all mixed together. Then you have Skate Nigs, and it's just so punk, it's just so underground. I love it. But Cro-Mags, check those guys out, and check out Skate Nigs if you're in the mood. Now, I remember when this record came out, this band was already starting to blow up quite a bit, but this album was so cheap, and I don't know why, if it was just the record label at the time, but I was so happy to get this on CD when it came out. And at that time, it was like one day delivery on Amazon. It was only like $6, and this came out the same day as For the Fallen Dreams, and both of them were super cheap. I think Amazon was doing a deal back then. This is going back to 2023, 2024. So going back to that era, and was it 20? No, I'm sorry. What am I talking about? 22. It's about 10 years ago. So this came out 2014. Yes. So this came out 2014. Came out the same day as the For the Fallen Dreams album. This came out on Epitaph Records. And I remember we were just so excited to have it home, because at that point, this band had already released The Here and Now, which was a total departure from Hollow Crown. And I was still okay with it. I loved Hollow Crown, and I loved Ruin. But I did enjoy this. This is a much of a departure from... He still does the cleans, but this is when you really started to hear him doing like the screamy cleans. And now, of course, this is one of the biggest like postmodern metalcore bands in the world. And while I did not enjoy the last album, and I thought the album before that was like okay, it wasn't my favorite. This is an era of this band that I really can't get enough of, and yeah, Lost Forever, Lost Together, Architects. Definitely one of my favorite records by them. I would say my favorite record by them all the time is still Hollow Crown. I love The Here and Now, and I love how different it was. I love how punk it was, and like really melodic, but really like focused on guitar work, like a local underground sound. It didn't have this big bombastic orchestral sound that they have now, which I could like take it or leave it. But I loved how punk the Here and Now was. They were just like, you know what, screw what we've been doing. We're going to do what we're doing, put in a bunch of melody in it, and we're going to make it sound like your local garage band, and I freaking love it. Well, then they came out with this, and this is when you really start to see the transition in Architects. Granted, there you still have the great guitar work. Rest in peace to to their big guy who unfortunately passed away, and you can see how the band changed after he passed away too. But this was loved this record. Just a big bombastic sound, really heavy, just really heavy, but a lot of good cleans, a lot of good guitar work. They didn't sound like a radio band like they kind of do now. I mean, there's there's a little bit of this stuff where they're really trying to do the Bring Me the Horizon thing, and I hate it. I really do. Like, Me the Horizon still comes out with some heavy stuff once in a while, but I didn't like that record with the last record from Architects. It really just sounded like Bring Me the Horizon ripoff band. And I mean, Sam's cool as hell, man. I got to meet him, took a picture of him. He's cool as hell, but the whole record's awesome. And based on what we're getting right now with the last three tracks from Architects, I think the new record's going to be good. It's still a little bit of that Bring Me the Horizon-y sound, but for what they're really doing, you can tell he's pissed off because all of his fans are pissed off that he's not pissed off anymore. And now we have this new Architects. But I mean, the whole record's awesome. Gravedigger, Naysayer, Broken Cross. I mean, the whole album's fantastic. The Distant Blue, what I like about this is still the era where Architects used to really, really pound out and work really hard on their finishing tracks. Like, if you listen to Hollow Crown, The Here and Now, all of the final tracks are so darn good. Memento Mori was fantastic. Distant Blue was incredible. And I feel like the band still really put a lot of time and energy into their final tracks. And the last two records, I didn't feel that. The last two records kind of reminded me of like 1,000 Suns by Linkin Park, where they just, I don't know, they didn't really try on the final track, and that's kind of what these last two kind of did for me. But Distant Blue, fantastic. So, let's go back. Let's go way back. I mean, let's go back to the Ferret music era of hardcore, metalcore, whatever you want to call it. And let's go back to a summer sampler that came out with Killswitch Engage's first self-titled album and the Ferret record era of bands. There was a winter sampler, and it introduced me to this band, and possibly one of the most just outrageously famous songs in like metalcore, heavy metal, whatever you want to call it. And I remember hearing this and how sad it was, and I didn't know what it was about until the band made a movie about it. And I realized what the context of the song is about and how sad it was. And this is just one of those bands that changed my life as far as musically, like what I want to hear from bands. And Misery Signals of Malice and the Magnum Heart. I never thought I would see the day this would come out on vinyl and we'd be able to get to have this in our hands. This album, I played it so many times, I think the CD player broke. And just everything on here it's just a perfect album. They, they didn't hang on to the lead singer forever, unfortunately. And then they switched over to, they got their new singer, Karl Schubach. And then eventually their lead singer came back on their final record after Karl was done with the band. So it was cool to hear him do one more album, but unfortunately Misery Signals is gone again. And they are basically doing their last couple of reunion shows, and then they played at Furnace, which unfortunately I missed. And just, what a fantastic band. I mean, really. The band, they're a little bit older now. They're all separated. They're all over the place. Half of them are in Canada, half of them in the United States. I remember the last two records when they were trying to write, they were basically doing everything long distance through GarageBand. And you got to watch, like, on Facebook about how the band was writing, how they were sending each other bits and pieces. And that's kind of how they wrote the last two records. The only downside to their comeback album is it was too short. I mean, they didn't even break 10 songs. They got to 9. The 9th song didn't even feel like a finale. It just kind of ends, and then that's all you get. I was happy to hear more from the band, but I wanted a big finale for this band. But since we can't have that, I would say Mirrors and this are the golden era of Misery Signals, and I would love to have Mirrors on vinyl one day. I got the CD. It's just a fantastic album. That was the first time we really heard Carl come into the band, and they really just, I mean, what a fantastic record. It was the most, this and that are the most complete of their records. The latter two are both great, but I feel like the first two are the most complete. And then the middle record was a big change for them as well. So, you know, after this, and then you got Anchors, and then their third album comes out. I call it the Blue Album because of the cover, but that's got a lot of great melodies, guitar work, a lot of heavy, and just, it's such a good CD, but I feel like it didn't hit everybody initially. But I remember it coming out, and I immediately had to go find it and go buy it. They played at like this underground show in Tampa. I drove like overnight to go to Tampa to go see them play in this tiny little underground garage show. And I think one of the odd things about that record is how Carl's voice is kind of like shouted over the music. It doesn't feel like it fits that well, but the melodies, the guitar work, everything is just so well done. But Misery Signals, you got 5 albums to choose from, but I had to get this one on vinyl as soon as I saw it. Alright, we got a couple more for you guys. So, not a lot of people like to talk about this album, and, you know, you could say whatever you want, but I think it's a fantastic record, and even though Ozzy and Ronnie James Dio are not on it, I still like Tony Martin's voice. I like the songs, the lyrics, and this is just a great British heavy metal album. Headless Cross, Black Sabbath. I don't have an OG copy of this. They go for a lot of money right now. I saw it on the shelves at this record store. I drove quite a while. It took me several hours, but I drove to this record store in Lauderhill, Florida, near, kind of close to Sunrise, Florida, where the Panthers play. But there's a record store called We Got the Beats. The owner, I think, the guy that I met that was down there, he knows a lot about like metalcore, hardcore, punk. We talked about music for like 30 minutes while I picked this up, and I was really happy to have a copy of this. So go listen to it. If you haven't listened to this at this point, at least just Tony Martin's voice is very reminiscent of Ronnie James Dio, but I love the melodies, I love the guitar work. It's a great freaking album. But yeah, We Got the Beats. I really wish I got his name. Younger dude, but he really knew his stuff. He was really big into like early metalcore before it got, you know, he was really big into like Dillinger, On Broken Wings, and then we talked about Every Time I Die. I mean, we talked about a lot of that stuff. So it was really cool getting to chat with him. So, I heard about these guys through Brain Smasher. I had no idea who these guys were, but if you haven't checked out, check out Brain Smasher's page. He's always talking about cool stuff. And I had no idea who these guys were until I played it, and I said, oh my god, if I'm not reading Lord of the Rings, or reading Game of Thrones, or reading something medieval, majestic, and powerful, then I need to at least be playing this. This is like a fantasy novel on a vinyl, and I bought the CD by mistake because I bought it on Amazon. I was like, man, it's a really good price. It came up as a vinyl. Well, I ended up getting the CD, which is fine. I was still happy to have it. But this actually just got repressed on 20 bucks spin. Obsequiae. Palms of Sorrow Kings. Just, I don't know how else to explain it. I mean, the opening track, no vocals, like just a really beautiful intro. It's in French, so of course I'm not gonna butcher that. I mean, I can pronounce if I can say it in Spanish, but probably not in French. And the beginning intro is just really like majestic and beautiful, and then the opening track with the first one with vocals comes out, and it's just. I mean, if Conan had a song, I feel like Ceres and Emerald Streams, which is kind of song number 2, was the first one with vocals on it. I feel like if Conan had a song about metal, it'd be that song. So, think fantasy, think Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, just a metal band. I mean, it's a beautiful cover. It comes with this like really nice, like shiny and mirror-like ink. They did such a great job with this, and of course I got the colored vinyl because, you know, we had to. Really nice merge, blue and green. It's just fantastic. Listen to it, go jam it. The guitar work is incredible. Really heavy focus on soaring leads, soaring guitars, a little bit more like black metal vocals, and very well produced. It doesn't sound like it was, you know, made on a Fisher-Price kit like a black metal band might, but it's got Black Motive vocals, and I really just dig this album. And I mean, I can't recommend it enough. Last but not least, we have so many other things to talk about, but this video is already at 25 minutes, so I'll keep this last one short. Speaking of architects, now, if they would just produce the Here and Now and Hollow Crown on vinyl, I'd be set. However, this one, it's a little bit more expensive because this came out forever ago on Napalm. And I remember the first time I played this, it was on CD actually, and I never thought I'd be able to see this on vinyl again because the vinyl copies were usually sold are very expensive. Well, they just went through a whole repress of this record again, and I remember seeing it on the wall. There's a Century Media Music video with Mikhail Stan from Dark Tranquillity. He's talking about his favorite records, and in the back wall, you can see this album. And that's when I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know they had a vinyl. Ruin, Architects, one of my favorite Architects albums. Visceral, gritty, dirty, heavy as shit. Wonderful lead guitar work, which is what I fell in love with Architects with. And then usually, like with Sam, this is his first record with the band. This is the first time you hear Sam doing cleans as well, but what I liked about this and Hollow Crown was Sam saved his cleans towards the end of the song, as opposed to the whole way through. And this is another one of those where the final track is just so meaningful. They put a lot of effort into the final track to make it feel like, hey, we're going to finish strong. I'm not a big fan of when bands give you... I'm okay with the ballad, honestly. Well, you turn back on, you fucking light. Anyway, I'm okay with a ballad at the end of the record, but... Well, I told the light to turn back on. Now it's on. But I don't mind a ballad at the end of a record, but I hate when you have a filler throwaway song at the very last track. I want the song to mean something, and this is one of those bands. Another reason why I fell in love with Architects was just because they made the final track so meaningful. I felt like they didn't do that in the last two albums, where the final track was just kind of like, meh. We have to write a song, we have to put it here, so we're just gonna put it right here. No. Ruin, Hollow Crown, The Here and Now. I mean, most of their records all have a beautiful ending to it, and you know, oh my goodness gracious, just what a great hardcore punk metalcore album. Really the beginning of like the era for this band, with Sam joining, really heavy emphasis on leads, a lot of tremolo riffs, breakdowns, a lot of big blast, bass blasts that shake your car. And the best part about this, it even has a bonus track at the end called Broken Clocks, which if you haven't heard that, I definitely recommend it. So, Architects, Ruin. Now we just gotta wait for The Here and Now and Hollow Crown to get released on vinyl. And their first record. It would be pretty cool to hear their first record without Sam get repressed on vinyl. So that's it from me. I think that's enough. We're at 28 minutes. I think that's a pretty cool way to start. I hope you guys are doing really good out there. Thank you again for the 216 subs. Halloween was amazing. Really just a beautiful Halloween this year. I don't even want to put away my Halloweens. I put away most of my Halloween stuff, but I left a few things out there. He's staying around forever. That pumpkin I carved, it's one of the ones you get from Michael's. Kind of like it. It's kind of cool. So I'm going to keep that right there. And I hope you guys are doing alright. I hope you guys are having fun. I hope you guys had a wonderful Halloween. My birthday was awesome. We're at 216 subs. Let's keep it rolling. Let's keep it going for that joke. Alright, Dane Cook. Anyway, guys, I hope you guys are doing alright. Take care of each other, and peace.